BYOT. Bring your own tacos.
Dick swinging.
You're listening to American Slacker Podcast.
We can say fuck.
With Matthew Gertz and Jesse Landers.
I don't care, I've been smoking, this is cool. That's a decent amount of sausage. This man needs a doctor! Yeah, I just hope they're tasty. What's up with these clowns, man? Cut the lights and went through people's pockets. Don't you point that at each other. Let them smoke a little. You need to step it up to that point. We're not gonna lead with the. We're not gonna lead with
So, this is about the guy I most recently had on my podcast, actually. I finally got him on. I thought I would never get a hold of him because of said events.
Okay.
So he'll be on this coming week's episode. I don't know when this airs, but basically, he's a comedian in New York City. His name's Boris Hyken, and he had this thing going where his whole bit in his stand-up was that he did Sober January, and he had challenged his friends and family to corrupt him so he couldn't do it. So everyone was trying to offer him beers and stuff, and it got to a point where his brother-in-law had sent him a half pound of weed.
Oh, damn.
And it was just it was in jars, and it was just kind of sitting there, and he's like, you know what? I made it through January though, but it severely slowed down my February to the point where he was like, you know what? I shouldn't have all this weed. It should be the people's weed. So I'm gonna give it away and actually have a scholarship. So he made a website called the Marijuana Diversity Scholarship.org.
Nice.
It really exists. Go check it out. Still up. And basically, there was an application where you could put in to get eighth of marijuana through his diversity scholarship. And there are different categories of diversity. You could your gender, your race, your financial background, all that. And it was a file you could do. And he was promoting the hell out of this thing. He would do it every stand-up show, every podcast he went on. And, people are that's intent to distribute, right? So,
well, it's a gift. Yeah. Well, I guess, it would be a sale, but it's still be
and marijuana is still very illegal in New York City.
Yeah.
Come, when it was the winners are supposed to be revealed, it was at the end of the month in March, and he's going to reveal all the winners and recipients.
Okay.
Come April 1st, or the night before April 1st, he's got raided.
Oh shit!
People busted him. Feds got and took all of his stuff. He spent the night in prison, and he was but I still want people to get their weed, so if anyone wants to, chip in to, for the winners and stuff, that'd be greatly appreciated. And I was like, oh, fuck, this guy's never going to make it on my podcast. Because he was booked for, 2 days later.
Wow.
I was
he's got some bigger issues.
Well, wait. So, I eventually finally get him on my podcast, and I was we're talking and stuff. And then, when it comes to the end part of my podcast where you, plug your stuff, he starts, bringing up his marijuana diversity scholarship again. And he's like, yeah, we're going to have an award show with all the weed and stuff. And I was like, okay, you are still committing to this bit. Even though you're a legal trouble. Podcast ends. We stop recording. He's like, oh yeah, the part about me getting raided was an April Fool's joke. I'm like, you never told anyone this was an April Fool's joke.
Oh my god. Well, that's what popped into my mind when you said, like, oh, he got raided on April 1st. I was like,
but like,
that's a fucked up April Fool's joke.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing is, like, at least you guys with your April Fool's jokes told people that it was a joke. Right. I was still here in the wind thinking, like, man, this guy's got a lot of, like, legal shit to deal with, and he's probably gonna be, like, tested, like, weekly.
Yeah, and especially to do it again.
The worst part is he tells me he still has the half pound of weed in his home.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god.
What a twisted web.
Man, hopefully that joke doesn't come back into reality, man. Oh.
Yeah, no, I'm just like afraid for this person. I'm like, you are playing with fire here.
Life imitates
and
art.
he wants to distribute it at a live show at a public like place.
He should do it in Massachusetts because it'd be legal.
Yeah.
He's talked about like doing it in New Jersey and stuff, but no, he wants to do it in New York City, in Manhattan. Like, oh my god, that is
sure find like everywhere. The basement bar somewhere that does comedy.
And he's like, he's awarding like 12 people, so he's got like 12. He's got like 12 eighths on him.
Nice,
you know.
It's like that's the weirdest form of like a drug front that I've ever seen. You hear about like companies being fronts for drugs, but never comedians.
Yeah, no. It's like intent to distribute. Does that like include just giving it away for free? I'd assume so, right? Because you're still distributing it.
And it's still a lot.
I don't know, yeah, it's illegal. I mean, you're giving it.
It's a lot to have on one person.
Yeah, because like I was about to say, even in Massachusetts, you only can have up to an ounce on you at a time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like most states.
He's got to have his opener carrying half of it.
Exactly.
He's got to bring multiple people.
Oh, man.
Don't take that gig, Aaron.
No, I want to be there though. I want to see this happen. I want to see him get away with this.
Right? It's quite a stunt.
Oh man, yeah, that's definitely quite a stunt. Well, welcome to American Slacker Podcast. As always, I'm Matt.
And I'm Jesse, and today we are joined by our guest, Aaron Weininger. How's it going, Aaron?
Hey, it's going great. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, man.
Aaron is the host of the Yes and I Am podcast. I would say friend podcast, companion podcast to ours. You've been right alongside us for a lot of the way here. And we like what you do. Do you want to kind of explain what you do over on Yes and I Am?
Oh, sure. I host Yes and I Am. We're an improv podcast. Basically, I bring on comedians and improvisers from the New York City area, maybe even farther. Who knows? Maybe I'm taking the show on the road. Who that would be exciting.
That would be cool.
Basically, I invite them on the show, and I right before we start recording, I tell them that they're playing a certain celebrity, and I do an improv interview with them. And sometimes they don't know who the celebrity is, and that gets really fun.
Yeah, I could imagine being put on the spot to like, especially if you're not like relevant with the character, like in their past, you know. That's I've seen quite a few of your episodes, like listened to quite a few of your episodes where the person wasn't, you know, too informed of the person, and it was very interesting to see how it's spun out.
Yeah. Well, no, it just happens in regular improv too. I saw it.
Yeah.
Yes, I was at a jam yesterday, and there's 3 people in a scene, and like they're doing, 2 of them were doing like a Mortal Kombat scene, and they were just like introducing each other as like characters from Mortal Kombat and stuff. And there's like the one girl in the scene, she ended up being like Sonya, and they were like, she had no clue what they were talking about. And I was just like, this is getting weird. And it was musical improv too, so the pianist started playing like the Mortal Kombat theme music.
Oh, nice.
I was like, this is amazing. And then she just completely was just like, so you're a washed up movie star? Like she's like taking these characters like literally, like not knowing that like it's a backstory to like people who just like rip each other's spines out.
Yeah. That's the main component and focus in Mortal Kombat. Don't worry about Liu Kang or fucking Johnny Cage.
Yeah, just worry about pulling off that nasty fatality.
That's funny. So you've been involved in improv for a while, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been doing it? Just like since high school or before that, or?
I mean, I did a little in college. I didn't get serious about it until I moved to the city, and like that's like how I ended up like making my group of friends that I have in the city is just like going to like improv jams and like taking classes and stuff. Because it's really like you have to meet people real fast and trust them real fast because you're just basically like relying on them. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Seems that way. What exactly is an improv jam for the uneducated among us?
Okay, an improv jam is basically where a bunch of random improvisers go and do improv together without like knowing each other beforehand. Like sometimes they'll just even have like names in a hat and be like, "All right, Aaron, you're going up with Jessica, and your suggestion is watermelon." And then you have to make something happen.
Make it work.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds like the throughout school, like primary school, when they like partner you up with someone. It could be good, it could be bad. You never know. I'd imagine it kind of throws you for a loop at times.
But you realize like the best people at like improv comedy are the people that can just make the worst people good.
Okay.
Like the best improvisers are the best partners, which is interesting.
Play off their weakness type deal.
Of course. And like even like the best guests on my show have been the ones that like engage with me as like a person rather than just a guy asking questions.
It's like being able to like pull the next question from what you're talking about rather than just going down the list and you can actually get into it and get. And
there's been a lot of episodes where people just like go down the list, and it's fine because like they still think of like funny things to say, but it doesn't become like this happening. Like some of my episodes, I realized just become like a happening, and it's just like, oh, this event just happened here, and I have to acknowledge it. You know,
right?
Yeah.
A couple of like one of the latest ones. It was Channing Tatum. That was one where you had like something in his life you had to address.
That was kind of a fun thing because like I was scheduled like to do like I knew I was having a guy come on, so I had to pick a guy character, and like I just went to like kind of my Yahoo paid front news page, and I was like, oh, this is something that happened. And the guest that came on didn't know that had happened.
Oh, really?
It was just which was fun, and but he was great because he was just kind of like, all right, so I've recently been getting a divorce. Okay, how does that affect me? Mm-hmm. And they just kind of roll with it.
How much time do you actually give them to prepare once they know who you've given them? Is it like literally you hit record right at like, all right, you're gonna be fucking Rip Torn, boom, and then
no, that's exactly what I do. It used to be a little more. Like, and sometimes if it's like someone obscure, I'll like I'll give them like a line or two of like who this person is if they give me like a real shocked face.
Mm-hmm.
When you had Mark Wahlberg on, it seemed like that was a shocking moment where he didn't realize he was like, Aaron, yeah, so I'm playing a movie where I'm myself. It was very interesting to see that play out.
It was funny because that person I think he like didn't know anything about Mark Wahlberg, but he was also kind of trying to do like some next level shit where like he was like unaware that he was on a podcast. I think that was his like idea of what he was gonna do going into it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a really good one. I've got to say I really enjoyed that one. How it spun out with somebody not knowing who the person really was. Like that he couldn't even pick him out from like a photo. Yeah. You were like, well, there's a photo of him right there.
Which I also don't believe that he didn't know who Mark Wahlberg was.
Marky Mark, come on.
He's like the highest paid actor in Hollywood.
Been in Transformers.
Yeah, my God.
The Happening.
Anything. Yeah.
Four Brothers.
And it was weird because I had like real like high expectations for that one too, because there's a comedian out there that does a Mark Wahlberg impression that like he'll go on podcasts as Mark Wahlberg.
Mm-hmm.
And
awesome.
he's
Andy
amazing.
Samberg kind of does a ripoff one.
Oh yeah, no, but Andy Samberg like is got into like that meta material where he actually like did his Mark Wahlberg impression to Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Shit's ridiculous. I mean, and another one that in the of your episodes, in the instances of people like addressing the podcast and kind of going meta with it, was Elon Musk, which Matt had mentioned was a favorite of his earlier.
Oh
yes. Oh
Where
my god.
He's like, oh, you can't like release any of this. I thought this was just between the two of us talking about Mars and Martians.
It's fun because like I noticed like that's been a trend of recent because the Channing Tatum at the end of that episode he does something similar, but yeah, no, that one went off the crazy train, the Elon Musk episode. Like I didn't get to hit any of my notes. I was like, okay,
yeah.
Like,
how could you project where he was going to go with that?
There's very few times where I like break and like laugh. He had me. It's like when he said Mars Clooney, I'm like,
oh my god, yeah, that was great.
Mars Clooney,
Marsk. There was,
I was like,
good things.
Okay, Mars Clooney. That's the most the most creative thing you have going on right now. Just nice, putting Mars in front of their name.
Do you find that you often, like, does that happen often? You have to, like, kind of throw it out the notes and just kind of roll with it?
It really depends on the guest. Some of them are just kind of, like, really good at just bullshitting. And, like, okay. I think the best thing about improv is, like, we're just all just bullshit artists. We're all just kind of, like, we get involved in our own world and we have to agree with it. You can't negate anything.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It has to be believable.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be believable, but it has to be the truth in your world.
Yes.
Okay, true. Yeah.
Your reality that you're selling.
In improv, there are no liars. Like, which is crazy.
That makes sense. I don't know if you've been watching it recently, that new show that Bill Hader
Barry
put out. Barry, yeah, that has like a little bit of improv. That's like he's a hired killer who then discovers improv and acting and goes into that, and I've been watching that recently, and it has some parallels to like what I hear on your show, and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of hear the banter back and forth between these characters and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't been able to watch a ton of it, but like I mean, Bill Hader's one of the best improvisers out there. He's one of the original UCB guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the listeners out there, UCB means Upright Citizens Brigade. They're like the original improv school. So like, I always wonder how much of his stuff is scripted at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's one of those people that can like riff for hours.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably one of the unwritten things in his contract. You gotta give him room. I mean, it would probably kill him to almost read from a script and stick to it.
But film, it's really hard to, like, film improv because it makes it impossible to cut between, like, takes. Because, like, I myself, like, when I'm doing a movie and stuff or a short film or whatever, like, I always want to, like, riff and, like, punch up jokes and stuff. But, like, I notice directors get pissed because it's like, well, the takes don't match up then.
Right.
Yeah, true.
Comes time for editing, it's a lot harder to actually make it work. Unless you have like some sort of live 3-camera setup, it sort of has to be meant for that, or like it has to be meant for that from the start. I feel like none are coming to mind right now, but I feel like there have been some movies where it's been majority improvised. A lot of comedy, it seems.
Yeah, wasn't Anchorman 2 a lot of it improvised? I mean, that's why they ended up
I could definitely see that.
That's why they ended up with a whole nother movie that was completely replaced jokes.
Oh, the 1.5 or whatever that they came out with?
Yeah, they literally replaced every joke because that's how many takes they had that were pretty funny. And I like the second one better, honestly.
I need to check that out then.
Yeah. I really enjoy I think Will Ferrell improvises a lot. You know.
Oh, same thing with Steve Carell. He's from one of the original improv schools too. He's from Second City, and like I would love to just like sit in an audience.
I'm sure a lot of that carried over in The Office. The Office seemed.
Oh yeah, that's why it's so different than the British Office. Because like he's just doing his thing.
Just being quirky, Michael.
Probably one of my favorite creations of all time, Michael Scott. Honestly, I rewatch The Office too many times a year for my own good. and sanity, and it's never gonna stop. I feel like.
So how often do you end up getting on stage to do improv yourself? You said you go and see a lot of the comedy jams.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, at the jams, I generally perform as well.
Nice.
I like to get up there. It's kind of like doing an open mic if you're a stand-up comedian. You need to just get in the reps, and you need to like be able to, work that muscle.
Yep.
I used to have a monthly show that got canceled. That was a fun situation.
What? It sounds like there's an interesting story behind that.
No, the original, it's what actually got me into like pursuing improv in the first place. It was a show called Pretty Bad. It was produced on the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and basically the whole concept was matching up improvisers with models, actually. And at the time, I was doing a lot of modeling work. Hey, casual brag.
There you go.
But they like invited me to show up, and then what eventually got it canceled was that none of the models ever showed up. Like at most, like 3 of us showed up, and the 3 of us that did show up were also comedians. Mm-hmm. So it was like the whole idea was like the models are going to be like weird and bad at improv, and then it just ended up being like, no, it wasn't that bad.
It's like actually we're good at both.
Yeah. Well, also none of the like female models showed up, which was the issue. Because like when you think like model, you think like tall women runway models, and like they were booked, they just never showed up.
Do they still get paid? I'd hope not.
No one got paid. The idea was like if we ever like drew in enough audience to get like the tickets,
percentage of ticket sales, kind of thing.
That we would get paid, but I was the only one bringing in consistent audience.
Well, you got, I assume that's part of the grind, though. We have another friend of the show who does theater in the city, and it sounds very similar in terms of bringing in the audience. Yeah,
my handful of friends, I don't know how they feel these days when I tell them I have a show coming up. They're like, I'm thinking in the back of their head, they're like, will there be other audience members there?
Like, don't worry about that. Just worry that, you know what, you're going to have a great time. That's why you should be there.
Yeah. And pull the friend card. You should be supportive.
Yes, exactly.
I'm going up. I need to see familiar faces. You're gonna take that from me?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I recently did a show that was a music sing-offs type situation where is like Music Jeopardy, and they bring on contestants, singers onto stage, and you pick a category and they give you a song, and it's like up to you whether you know that song or not.
Okay.
And like I was not ready for this competition because like most of the people that do it, they just like improv a song.
Yep.
And I was like, I got a song that I thought I knew, so I was like, I'm gonna go for this and go to actually try to sing the whole song.
Right.
And then, like, I get through, like, the song was Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars.
Okay.
And I get, like, through the first verse, and they're like, oh, crap, I don't know these words. He talks so fast. And then at one point, like, he says something about Spider-Man, I think, in the song. And, like, my head is just like, you know what, I'm just going to start singing about Spider-Man.
That's awesome.
Just latch on to what you know.
Yeah, but it was like, at a certain point, I was just singing gibberish because I was like, I need to get through this. This is my nightmare.
That's hilarious. And you know what? That is one of those deceptive songs where it'd be like, yeah, no, I know. If someone's like, do you know Uptown Funk? You'd be like, yeah, I know Uptown Funk. They'd be like, sing it right now. You'd be like, oh, fuck, I don't know Uptown Funk. Like,
it's like doing karaoke without having the words.
Oh, man.
Impossible.
That's brutal.
Impossible. Yeah. Yeah, you can take, like, your favorite song and put you on the spot in, like, karaoke.
And that's it. Being put on the spot like that, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
It just felt, like, so easy. I was like, yeah, I hear this song all the time on the radio.
You're like, Uptown Funk, can I give it to you? It's like, I just gotta say that like 60 times and I'll be good. Like,
yeah. And then on top of it is a competition at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, Wow. But I sold it. I was like, I'm just going to do a bunch of crowd work. I'm going to do a lot of clapping.
There you go. Get everyone in the mood.
Win them over. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, if I go back on that show, I'm going to like strategize before I go on. I'm like, you know what? Maybe I have a suggestion in my mind that like this is, no matter what the song is, this is what I'm going to sing about.
Okay. Yeah. And just kind of make it work for that. That's interesting. It seems like there's a lot of different ways to approach improv, because I've heard of like that. I've never heard of that kind before, where it's like half karaoke. But I have heard of like comedy sports or something, or
comedy sports.
Yeah, where it's like competitive teams doing things against each other. Like I had friends who were involved in theater in college, and I went and saw some of their plays, but all the improv stuff seemed very I don't want to say cliquey, but it seemed like everyone sort of knew each other, and it was just that little group. Is it inclusive in that way? Do you find?
It can be cliquey, like especially like depending on like what theater you hang around, because like UCB people generally don't leave like the UCB theaters.
Okay.
Same thing with like there's three main theaters in the city. There's UCB, there's the People's Improv Theater, and also known as the Pit, and then there's the Magnet. I generally hang around the People's Improv Theater. But like, fun fact about me, never seen a show at UCB. And I don't know why. There's no good reason for it other than like my friends hang out at these other theaters.
You're wearing the wrong colors. That's what it is.
Yeah. No. I mean, it might be about like where people take classes and stuff. But also, fun fact about me, other than just like regular improv and like musical, the type of improv I do the most is hip hop improv.
Oh wow!
Okay,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. So I do a lot of like freestyling and ciphering and stuff.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
How come we haven't heard any of that yet?
Yeah.
You guys gotta make it to the city, or one of those things is like I've just been working that muscle a lot, and just like the rhyming muscle. That's why I'll do like musical improv, because it works kind of the same muscle. But it's one of those things where I've been practicing like free flowing and stuff, like off of suggestions and stuff like that.
Now, have you explored like the idea of like going out and doing music on your own, or like is that an idea at all?
I used to do music in high school. Like I was in a band in high school, and recently I've been following a couple of YouTubers that have been doing this challenge where it's like make a song in 1 hour, like, and you like have to like produce all the instruments, vocals, and everything. And at the end of like 60 minutes, like that's your song.
That's cool.
Oh wow!
And that seems like something I would really want to do, because like it kind of involves like the world of improv and like songwriting together.
Yeah, that is a good combination. But were you a lead singer? Did you play an instrument?
Well, in my band, I was lead singer and bassist.
Okay.
Yeah,
Slap of the bass.
Yes.
All right, I could dig it. Yeah, me and Jesse have our own background in bands.
Yeah, I played bass.
Well.
Matt played leads.
Yeah.
Played lead guitar.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we had a band.
What kind of music did you guys play? I'm assuming it was like emo hardcore-ish, because that seems to be a theme.
I would say less hardcore.
Less hardcore. We dreamed of going hardcore, but
yeah, probably
neither of us could really scream. We had a buddy that could scream, who's actually a great supporter of the show, and like we were in a band with him too, but we just never really made it work out,
Yeah, no, all my friends from high school that still do music today are all like metal hardcore bands.
Metal's hard today. It's got a big scene. I feel like it survived, whereas like emo and the scene, that's all dead.
Pop punk is like nearly dead.
Yeah, pop punk's like.
I think this Warped Tour, isn't it the last one?
It's the end.
Yeah, it's the death of pop punk.
How sad is that?
Pop punk funeral this summer on tour.
Man.
I mean, even like artists I used to listen to, if they're still playing today, they've completely changed their sound.
Oh yeah,
without
absolutely. I'm going to see Coheed and Taking Back Sunday, and
okay. So Coheed tickets, I've heard things about recently that like they're like $80 these days.
Yeah, it was up there. It was like, I think it was 60 maybe. It might have been a little bit under.
Yeah,
but
no, I have a friend that's like a diehard Coheed fan, and she was complaining like, yeah, I remember when Coheed tickets were like $25.
Yeah, well, StubHub and fucking Groupon weren't a thing, so you gotta get with the times, and that's the unfortunate. And like, I think the thing with tickets these days is like half of them get promised out to like promotional shit for giveaways and all that kind of stuff. Then another half of those get bought up by robots.
Yeah,
and then resold
I missed my
price.
chance to see Coheed. It was when they were on tour with Avenged Sevenfold. Like, I was gonna see them, and then I didn't.
Oh man!
And I felt like that was my chance, because that was when I was like really listening to them. Like, if I was to go to see them now, I wouldn't know most of their music.
Yeah. I still like them. I saw them a while back in like 2014, maybe.
Yeah.
Coheed? Yeah, it might was or no, it wasn't 2014. It was way earlier than that. It was like 08.
Yeah. Chance, right? It was way earlier than that.
I was going back for the Warped Tours that I went to, and it was back on Randall's Island, so it was a long
year after
time
we got out of.
I was about to say, if you're thinking like back at 08, that's around the same time they were on tour with Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, because this was at Warped Tour on Randall's Island in the city.
That's where I go to like Gov Ball and a couple other festivals.
Yep.
I haven't made it out to Gov Ball. The ticket
really
prices
fun.
are insane.
They're insane, man, but I gotta say, the festivals are great. And if you really want a good time, go to Camp Bisco down in PA. You camp out on the mountain, and it's a water park, so it's really cool. And the main stage is like in a wave pool.
Now, is Camp Bisco all EDM?
Yeah, it's mainly EDM, so you won't have the variety. Like, I saw Ray Scrimmer at, Gov Ball. There's a lot of great acts. Run the Jewels. I have a fun story about Run the Jewels. I saw them before I had any clue who they were.
Really? Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I
similar here.
Because my survival job is I work special events, and I was working one for
in the woods?
Vivo.
You said survival, so I'm confused.
so survival means like paying my bills.
Day job. Yeah.
And I was working this event for Vivo, and like they're like Run the Jewels was like the event, and I had like no clue who these people are. My bosses were like, oh, there's some rap group, and their bass was so loud that I could not hear a word they were saying. All I knew is that people like thought that like this was the Beatles or something, because they were just nuts.
Yeah, people love them.
Well, no, I like, now that I can like listen to their lyrics and stuff, I too enjoy Run the Jewels.
When they're not blowing your eardrums out.
Yeah, and I've got to say, like, at the festival, they were really good to the crowd. They were like getting in the crowd. They gave out like $1,000 in merchandise. They had a cannon shooting shit out into the crowd, like all kinds of stuff.
They just seem like really cool people too. Their like involvement with their audience, and like, just like they had a whole thing recently about no harassment, and like how like if they see someone like harassing another audience member, like Killer Mike's just gonna jump out in the audience and just
didn't they like stop a song mid song because something happened like recently, and they were like, "Yo, fucking knock that shit off!" Like,
they're very progressive for for what they are, and like their lyrics about like shooting people.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between like the art and the person.
Yeah.
Too.
Mm-hmm.
So, how often do you end up performing? Like, is it like a once per week thing? You said it's like a muscle. You're trying to work it out. So
I'm trying to get on more shows. That's my goal right now. Is just trying to get on stage more. It might involve with me going back to stand up, which is like my fear right now, because stand up is like a monster, and it will eat you alive, especially in New York City.
Oof, that's a tough town to start.
Yeah, no, but it's the way to get your face out there, because like the way you meet other like comedians and stuff is like doing the open mic circuit, And like a lot of comedians I know that like are really good comedians, will do like shows where they're performing in front of like bookers and stuff that will like book them for stuff. And they're like, yeah, I just completely bombed that night. And like, so I'm not getting any paid gigs anytime soon. I'm like, wow, that is harsh.
Yeah, it's rough. Because it could be like you had like a month straight, you were killing it. All the crowds were feeling, you're just crushing it. And then like you eat a bad slice of pizza on the corner, and it's just hitting you all wrong with your lactose. And you're like sweating bullets and forgetting lines. And
you're just like dying up there.
Like, wait, let me start over. Then you're done.
It's funny. A lot of my friends compete in this thing in the city called the roast battle.
Nice, yeah.
Okay.
And it gets back to kind of what you were talking about before with like theater comedy battles, but it's basically stand-up comedians like go head to head and they just kind of insult battle each other.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like what Jeff Ross hosts in Cali at the Improv.
Yeah, and like actually, I have friends that have been on Jeff Ross's show.
Oh wow,
the roast battle. Actually, the guy who played Elon Musk on my podcast, Jacob Williams, was on the Comedy Central roast battle.
Yeah,
that's
Jeff Ross
fantastic.
is a great dude. I got to meet him when I was out in Cali last time, real quick, and he just like was among regular people. He just didn't give a fuck. He's cool.
Yeah. Was it at the Comedy Store?
The greatest place in the world.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Mitzi Shore.
And I was gonna say we haven't gotten the chance to say it, so our thoughts go out to the family, the Shore family.
Wait, Pauly Shore passed away?
Mitzi Shore,
his mother.
Nah, Mitzi Shore. For people who don't know, basically she's been the owner of the Comedy Store since the 70s, I believe. She got it from divorce, actually, from her husband who had it for just a little bit. And she really crafted it into what it is today, a really friendly environment for comedians to practice their art. And she's helped bring up so many good comedians that we're all fans of, you know? The list goes on and on.
Yeah. And like a lot of comedians, like Joe Rogan is a big, he talks her up a lot on his show about how she's, developed it into what it is and how influential it's been in so many people's lives. So, just quick shout out, I guess. There.
Yeah, no, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, no, I know, like, Paulie's been, like, running things over at the Comedy Store, like, for the longest time right now. Because his father, like, and his mother founded it, but that's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder what's going to end up happening if he's just going to become more involved and become...
Well, he hasn't been acting as of late.
Yeah. He was doing stand-up, right, for a little bit?
Yeah, no, my cousin actually saw him recently.
Okay.
I was like, was he what you would think Pauly Shore would be? He's like, yeah, I loved it. He's like, I loved it, though.
Yeah,
it's cool.
I can see him succeeding if he did do a really good comeback at the stand-up.
I don't know. The Comedy Store is such a, like, kind of a hole in the wall, though.
Such a hole in the wall. But you know what? I've got to say, out of all the comedy clubs I've been to, it's my favorite. And you get to meet people that, like, you hear on podcasts or watch on TV, like, it's nothing, they all hang out there, like, in the back where, like, people hang out smoking and whatnot.
When I went there, I actually, like, ended up running into Al Madrigal.
Oh, nice.
The Daily Show.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, what's your name? I was like, wait, you want to know my name?
Right?
It's like, I'm Al. I'm like, I know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the last time I went there, I got to see Bobby Lee came up on stage and did a set.
Oh, he's so funny.
Adam Ray.
Yeah.
I got to see him. So, yeah, it's really cool that you can, just for what, like $15 and like some drinks or something.
Yeah.
Go see like hours of comedy of these people that you've watched growing up and shit.
Not to mention that people like legends show up like randomly, like Dave Chappelle or Seinfeld. Chris Rock. Yeah, like you never know.
I feel like it's less likely for that stuff to happen. Like that stuff used to happen a lot in New York City, like places like the Comedy Cellar and like Eastville Comedy Club and stuff. Like that used to happen all the time here, and it seems like no one's ever in the city anymore.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with that. It just seems like the East Coast comedy scene's like dying down a little bit. I want to see it resurge, like just come back to what it was.
No, there's a lot of brilliant comedians.
Oh my God, so many great actors, right?
I feel like it's more TV deals being made out there
That makes sense.
than people actually in the like. It's weird because the last time I was in the city, I did see comedy for a little bit because I was dropping off a friend at a bar, and below the bar there was like 2 rooms with comedy going on. So I just kind of went and poked my head in and saw it, and it's cool that like that's happening. It's happening everywhere, all over the city, but it doesn't seem like they have a central place where it's going on, like the Comedy Store or the Laugh Factory.
Yeah,
that you would have.
Now,
like,
do you guys
West
have
Coast.
favorite comedians that you listen to?
Yeah, like a bunch. I like a lot of like the dirtier spectrum, I guess, like you would say. Like I like Joey Diaz a lot. Like I didn't find myself liking this kind of stuff, but until like I found Rogan and Diaz and stuff, and like Shafir, Anthony Jeselnik is one of my favorites, I've got to say. Have you ever seen him?
What happened to him? He had his show and then he disappeared once his show was canceled.
I don't know, man, but I've got to say, like, his stand-up, like, especially the one that's on Netflix right now, I can't remember the name of it, but it's one of my favorite specials of all time. Like, he kills me, man.
I've been really liking Jim Jeffries. His show's been going pretty strong.
Oh no, I'm a big
Central.
fan of Jim Jeffries' show.
It's funny. I don't watch his show because I don't have like Comedy Central. I mean, like I could probably find it because I have Hulu. I guess I might have access to it through that. But I listened to the podcast, which is an after the show podcast. So they talk about everything that happened on the show, but I've never watched the show.
That's
just because I enjoy it in podcast form
Yeah.
better, you know. So it's cool to have like so much access these days to comedians and stuff. And I'm sure that's beneficial from like your standpoint, where like you might be a little apprehensive to go out and do stand up live again. It's easier to do something like this.
Yeah,
I
I mean, my favorite comedians are all the ones that I listen to their podcasts. Like, I'm a big fan of the Sklar brothers.
Oh yeah, they're funny.
And I listen to their podcast. I think my favorite comedian right now would be Doug Benson.
Oh, wow.
Like, I listen to like
Doug Loves
all
Movies.
4 of his podcasts. Like,
What are the other ones? Because I know he has Doug Loves Movies.
he has Dining with Doug and Karen, which is his food podcast.
Okay.
He has Doug Loves Minis, which I think is genius. Which it is just him reading the reviews of Doug Loves Movies on iTunes.
Oh, okay.
He just made it into a podcast.
You would be the person to do that.
His iTunes reviews.
That's funny.
I'm like, I want to get to that point where I get that many reviews that I can just do a show that is just shout outs.
Right. That's a really good idea.
And then he has one that's only on Stitcher Premium, which I do not have, but it's called The Benson Interruption, and it's like very much like a Mystery Science Theater where he watches a movie and just kind of shouts out at it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That's cool. Wow, I didn't realize he had that much out. I knew.
Oh wait,
that,
no,
like...
he has one more too. He has Getting Dug with High.
Okay.
Where he has friends in a room and they just smoke a bunch of pot.
I have heard of that one.
Okay.
I have heard of that one, yeah.
But
That's really funny.
he is like the podcast comedian.
Yeah, he seems to be. He can excel in any environment. It seems like I do enjoy the presence that Benson brings. Super high. He started me with that way back in the day.
It's funny because like you listen to him more and more, and you realize like he's not really telling jokes. He's really not delivering punchlines. He's just like fun to listen to.
That's who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has interesting thoughts. It's more like one-liners, if anything.
I've never heard I've seen him live now like 4 times.
Oh, wow.
I've never heard one person like laugh at his own jokes more.
Yeah, he always does that. He just kind of chuckles afterward. He was just on Crashing, which I don't know if you've watched that.
I haven't
on
gotten a
HBO.
chance to watch it. I know people that are on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's shot in New York City.
Yep.
So
it's Pete Holmes' new show. Or well, I guess it's a couple seasons in now.
Yeah. But they book a lot of New York comedians for the show. And,
Henry Zabrowski's on that one.
Yeah, one of my good friends was actually like auditioning for that show. And then another person I know got the role that she was up for, which is funny. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, so I wonder how accurate that show is,
It's a pretty great depiction of the New York comedy scene, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to kind of plug or talk about to get out there to our listeners?
Just generally listen to my podcast, guys. Listen to Yes and I Am.
Yeah.
Because it's fun. I'll get into the most recent episode a little bit because that was our cold open story, was the episode that comes out this coming week. I don't know when this episode we're doing right now is coming out, but I do a Skrillex episode.
Nice.
I get to tell a fun little backstory here. So I told the guy he's playing Skrillex. And he's like, "Oh, did you know that I have an impression of Skrillex that I did like 6 years ago?" I was like, "How would I know that?" He's like, "Apparently he had a viral video of himself. Like, it's got like 42,000 views on YouTube."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's called Skrillex Talks to Home Appliances. And
okay.
I was like, well, what are the odds? He's like, yeah, I actually kind of look like Skrillex when I because he has a long beard now, but he's like, when I shave and I like put on like a Skrillex wig, and like I watched the video and I'm like, wow, that is uncanny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It sounds like you pull in a lot of really good people for the show.
Yeah, no, booking has been solid, But yeah, no, if you're a comedian out there listening to this and this sounds like fun, reach out to us. Basically, anything you think, Yes and I Am at Gmail, Yes and I Am on Instagram, anywhere, because I've got my bases covered right now. No one wanted that domain name, so I took it.
Nice. Snag that shit. So, and is there anywhere that people can go to see you live performing at all?
Typically, if you want to find my personal stuff where I perform improv and stuff, I will generally advertise on my Instagram, and that's at Weininger Words. My annoyingly weird last name is spelled Weininger, and then Words, WORDS, and that's where you can find show details and all that stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah, make sure to go and check out Aaron live and in digital format on his podcast.
Yeah.
Definitely. Now, if you wanted to check us out, stop by our Facebook page, American Slackers Podcast, where you can take part in the American Slackers group and chime in like all the other slackers in the carnage that's occurring there right now, probably. Also, stop by the Instagram where you can catch all the promos for each and every show, and also the live shows that we traditionally put up for our weekly output.
Yeah, watch their live shows. I feel like I'm one of the only people that watch them.
Well, it depends what we do.
It's cutting us short.
Live,
you bring you on the show, you cut us short, Aaron? Is this how this goes? Okay, I see.
No. I'm just saying, if you're listening right now, get on Instagram and watch a live show because it's a lot of fun and you get to interact with these two dudes.
It's either Wednesdays or Saturdays usually, and that's usually what depends, like what time we're going on and stuff, how many people end up tuning in.
We got a weird schedule, but yeah, we'll keep you posted on the Insta. Check it out and keep an eye on it. We'll let you know a little bit in advance at least. And also check out the website, AmericanSlackerPodcast.com, ASPodcast.com if you're a lazy ass. So check that out.
You can also find us on Twitter and Reddit at AMERSLKR Podcast. Please rate and review us on iTunes. 5 stars or nothing, them's the rules. And tell a friend about the show.
And also send us an email if you want to get in contact with us, AmericanSlackerPodcast@gmail. Like how we make that easy? Yeah. And also check out the Spotify playlist. Search American Slacker Podcast, and you'll find all the artists that have been on the show and the music we reviewed.
And don't forget, you can become a Patreon slacker by sponsoring the show over at our Patreon page. And please visit our shop for some t-shirts and mugs at americanslackerpodcast.bigcartel.com.
And last, you can get me on Instagram at MWG Media or on Xbox at Matty G from HP.
And I'm on both them shits at Landers the Plane.
Yeah, it's like, I like it.
Aaron, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan of the American Slacker Podcast.
as we are of you, sir. Check out the Yes and I Am podcast for sure. You will definitely be entertained. But make sure to come back to us because it's pretty fucking good. I'm not gonna lie. We don't want to lose you to this guy, but check him out.
I mean, my show is a lot shorter than yours. So, like, if you have 2 hours to fill, you can, like, listen to my short, like, half hour and then get your American Slacker on.
There you go. Just fit it in the gaps.
Yeah.
It'll be nice.
That works. All right, people. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love all of you. And until next time, that's it.
There you go.
It's so fun to hear you say that.